I'm ready when you are.
Coolio. All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Penguins Fans Pod. That's not it. Another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast brought to you by the Jersey Nerds. Surprise. It's us again. That's us. We did it. Lo hicimos.
Speaking of podcasts, I'm just recording one. How about you?
Oh, nice. I was about to ask you what you were doing. Coincidentally, I am also recording a podcast. So
no way.
Yeah. So for those
crazy, we ran into each other while we were both recording a podcast.
You know, it's surprising. You just get on the airwaves and eventually you run into someone. But for those of you who don't have the video feed,
the way that you said that, it reminds me of older movies from maybe the early 2000s or late 2000s where or I guess not even movies, just kind of the general trope of yo, hop in the TV and run around everywhere, And there's just shows out everywhere. It's you're in a big store with TVs everywhere or whatever. It's just the digitally, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain exactly.
Oh yeah.
Just run around the internet, find somebody else recording a podcast and hop on.
Right. A Jersey Nerds chat room.
Hop on Omegle and just record a podcast with somebody on there.
Goodness. For those of you who...
Don't do a video podcast for that one, friends.
Yeah, right. For those who aren't paying attention or, don't know our voices, be a better fan and start to know our voices. But this is Justin and Bpoe, as it were.
Fans.
That's fair.
Maybe they just started listening last episode.
That's fair. For those of you who are just starting listening, that means this is the first time you've heard me. I'm back from the dead, as it were. And now I'm hosting, so that's how you get a promotion at your job. Just stop working. But yeah, so we have our two residents Penguins fans, and coincidentally, we will be talking about the Penguins a little bit. Big surprise, but that'll come later. We're also going to talk about the Abbotsford. I don't even know whether. I guess it's a rebrand. It's weird because they're with a new affiliation, so it kind of makes sense. But
you know what, Justin? Nobody else is here to stop us. Let's just talk about the Penguins the whole time.
Let's talk about the Penguins the whole time. So the Penguins have a list of 10 names they're going to choose from. I wish.
Penguins are rebranding now.
I wish. Yes, we're gonna rename the entire AHL. You know what? Let's do both. The entire
that would be an intriguing exercise, but it's not something to do right now.
No, not at all. So Abbotsford, which I always want to say Abbotsford, I guess the R's just go everywhere for me, is newly affiliated with the Vancouver Canucks after Utica has moved to the Devils. Abbotsford used to be... Did they have a team last year?
No, I think it was 2015 that the Heat moved out.
They used to be the Heat, yeah, something right.
Like that.
Minor league hockey locations are just like professional hockey coaches. Once you leave, you always come back within a couple years.
2014 they moved out, apparently.
2014. So Abbotsford, finally gets hockey back. Maybe they're not Abbotsford. They're also considering
right. The Adirondack.
Calling them.
No, never mind. They moved. Okay, they moved out 2015. But for that one season, 14-15, they were the Adirondack Flames. I totally forgot about that.
I remember they were a team. I didn't realize. Okay. So they went Abbotsford, Adirondack, and now it's Stockton.
Yeah,
so Stockton has the Heat.
I forgot they rebranded to the Adirondack Flames for that one season, and they used the old Atlanta Flames logo. I totally forgot about that.
Did they move too? Is Adirondack and Abbotsford the same thing? I don't know.
Or did I say Adirondack?
Was it Abbotsford Flames?
Oh, it was Adirondack. My bad. They did move out of Abbotsford in 2014. I confused.
All right, there we go. Every city with an A name is now the same. The Atlanta Flames are still in the league. It's all good. So with the AHL shakeup, Abbotsford is getting a team again, and as such, they need a name. So
I hate to interrupt you again.
Yeah,
but I just remembered the Adirondack Flames had that weird mascot video of the fire with a puck coming out of his head.
Oh my gosh,
the puck dancing around or whatever, and
knocking
over the fireman. Yeah.
Before we get into this list, I'd like to add the Flaming Pucks to the list as an 11th option. Unfortunately, we're not in charge. Sometime we will become in charge of a minor league team, I'm sure. But for now, we will have to resort to Abbotsford and their process, where they have reached out to those fans who have made ticket deposits for the new team and got their input on 10 names that they're looking at right now. And those names include, frankly, nothing terribly original, unfortunately. You have the Aces, which obviously everyone was talking about with Vegas. You have the Arrows, which used to be a Houston WHL team. You have the Avengers, which I'm going to reserve comment on for the time being, but I have thoughts. You have the Aviators, the Canucks, which I hope to heaven is not what they go with, the Golden Eagles, which is a college sports team, I think Marquette, the Pilots, the Millionaires, the Sockeyes. At this point, it just sounds like we're talking about Seattle. And then lastly, the Falcons. So 10 names there. Nothing that I can say I've never heard of before. But, certainly 10 names. What do you think about any of those names, the full list? What are your thoughts?
Well, as you said, definitely not Canucks. Let's not do that. And I guess I'll start with the negative first since I started there. Aces. I swear the first time I think of, or like any team is like considering Aces, I just think of like the Burnaby Aces. If you've never played an NHL video game and tried to customize, it's you go in there and it's just the Burnaby Aces by default. So like a lot of times for me, especially, like I'll go in there, I'll like do some jerseys and I'll be like, I don't feel like finishing this right now, or like I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just the Burnaby Aces sitting there for God knows how long.
So I always think of that. I'm imagining now them like unveiling jerseys with no logo and just like a random color palette, not generic EA striping pattern with the thick, thin striping.
And the white gloves on the road for some reason.
Exactly.
They always do that whenever you like
color palette of like forest green, purple, and white or something.
Let's see. Avengers is an interesting one. I think one of my favorites is I'm not sure if you mentioned this because I was like working on trying to put a link into the notes for that video so we can put it in the description. Mm-hmm. How they also asked if like the city moniker should be Abbotsford or Fraser Valley instead. Somebody mentioned, I think in the comments of somewhere, Fraser Valley Falcons. That sounds great.
That's what I was thinking too. When I was
really like the sound of that.
I was gonna say, I feel like looking at the list, like the first 4 out of the 10 of them are all A's. So obviously there's some alliterative intent with Abbotsford, and so I'm wondering if they pick Fraser or Fraser Valley. I'm not sure what the pronunciation is. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if they ended up being the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna sound as good if it's Abbotsford Falcons, but like.
Not bad.
I don't mind Golden Eagles either. Although I don't know if I'd go Fraser Valley Golden Eagles. I'd probably go Abbotsford at that point because you're not getting the alliteration anyways.
Just go Valley Golden Eagles, like the Vegas Golden Knights.
I was going to say Fraser Golden Eagles. I was going to say you kind of avoid the Vegas, Las Vegas Golden Knights that they, I guess, intentionally avoided now that I think about it. You kind of stick with 3 instead of 4. I know a lot of people, I think, were liking the idea of millionaires. I'm not sure where I fall on that because I get the reference, but I don't know if it's necessary.
I think it'd be cool if you just took like the Vancouver Millionaires logo that they wore in the Heritage Classic with the V and the. I guess it said. Did it say it says Vancouver in it, right?
Yeah, so it would say Abbotsford.
But like you could like just basically flip that, add a crossbar, and make it. And I think that could be pretty cool.
It would be interesting for sure.
I think that would be a unique example of like.
I'm growing on that one, to be honest.
It would be a very unique example of like copying from the NHL team without copying from the NHL team in a way.
Yeah. Which I'm always Henderson is the one I was thinking of that does it really well. Mm-hmm. How similar branding, but not exactly the same.
But distinct,
it's very much distinct. Yeah, you would never confuse the two. Meanwhile, you could very much see like a Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins jersey at a game, for example, and think it's Pittsburgh.
Or like a Toronto Marlies.
Seeing the front of it. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I was gonna say, even seeing the front of the Marlies, you could think it's
honestly thinking about it. Like, the Marlies have a good opportunity to at least do something different with their jerseys because they've got a different name. And, I mean, it's hard to argue changing the logo when they've had something so similar for so long. But even the
jersey, it is good. Like, it's a quality.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's not like it's not like it has the Toronto over it like the Leafs does, and then it just has Marlies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure what the significance of it is, but it's different.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think they were originally sponsored. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they were originally sponsored or like owned by like the owner of like the Marlboro cigarette brand, which is where Marlies comes from, and so I think that's involved in their branding.
I believe they either used to be called, or there's a different team, the Toronto Marlboros, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it's the same. Right. But
okay,
I would have to ask my father. He knows way more about that than I do.
You know who probably knows more about that than your father? The good old Google machine.
The good old Google machine.
But we're also in the middle of a podcast, so I don't think we can.
You're recording a podcast too? Whoa, it's like deja vu.
Yeah, I'm just recording a podcast. How about you?
Wow, I'm just looking at 10 names that I don't like, to be honest.
None of them?
Not really. Like, I don't know. Like, Aces, Arrows, Canucks.
I mean, yeah, some of them.
Those have all been done, so I don't care. Pilots, Millionaires, Sockeyes, I feel like is just, Seattle didn't pick it, so maybe we will. Obviously, they're like the same.
Seems like Seattle. That's all it reminded me of. But
obviously, like, it's the same region, so like I get it. Like, if Sockeyes are native to,
I guess. Yeah. I mean, since Seattle didn't use it, it's not like nobody else can use it now. But
yeah, I also just feel like with the whole like, I'm gonna make a Seattle concept, it was like always either Kraken or Sockeyes. So like I've seen so many Sockeyes concepts that I feel like the Seattle Sockeyes are a team that exists, even though they don't.
I mean, I know we haven't released it yet, but like we've teased it a lot on Discord, especially that 2-color series with me, you, and Hunter.
Yeah,
I think we were gonna go Sockeyes before.
We were until they unveiled the actual. Yeah,
I don't know if Hunter was working with us at the time because it started as just us. But
yeah, that's going to be a fun one upcoming. Me, Brendan, and Hunter all work together. I think that's the first time we've done a group series. At least I ever have. But we're doing the NHL in 2 colors, so every team has just 2 colors. Think like the Edmonton alternate, but don't think like that because that jersey sucks.
Yeah, think of that or like the 2019
Stadium Series. Yeah,
but again, don't think those jerseys because they aren't all that good.
Yes.
I mean, I guess the Flyers one wasn't that bad. The Penguins one was.
The Penguins one I hated at the time, but I love it now.
The colors were fine. I just wish the design was a little better. You know,
I might say something about that in a couple minutes, actually. But
teasers.
That's the teaser for later. Yeah. But out of these 10, like I think if I had to pick one, honestly, I hated the Millionaires before, but I like what we've just discussed. I would be down for an homage that way, especially if they really keep the logo very similar. I think obviously what we talked about with the Fraser Valley Falcons, I think that could be cool. The Avengers I want to like, but I feel like I would have so much trouble disassociating that from the Marvel movies.
Unless they went, full send on that and actually got like a partnership, which
right, like
would that be possible? I don't know.
I'm trying to think what even like an Avengers identity would like be. Like that's so general. But I guess that's kind of fun. It could be anything. Like I mean, it's not like the Heartlanders have a specific thing that they need to be, and that brand turned out really well, I would say. So. Maybe you'd be weird. Maybe you go with it.
Are there any teams called the Avengers right now that I can think of? Like, unless they literally
in any sports, I don't
reference
know.
To that. Like the closest thing I can think of is there's like an organization locally to me that's called like Andrews Avengers, because of I don't remember what it was, but essentially, it's like a sort of charity tribute fund type of thing, but I don't even think they're like a sports team, but I think they do like I don't know exactly what it is.
I couldn't remember why I was thinking of like when I was thinking of identity. I kept thinking of like a helmet logo with like wings coming off the back, and like that's how it would make that identity. And I couldn't think of why. And then I just Googled Avengers sports team, and the Los Angeles Avengers were a arena football league team from 2000 to 2008, and that was their logo. Was like a winged helmet figure with wings. Surprise!
Literally, like as soon as you started saying that, I was like, that sounds like it could have been something in the AFL.
Yeah, exactly.
XFL for sure.
Yeah, so there was a team, but not currently.
AAFL, right? American Alliance.
The AAF. AAF. I think there was no L. Yeah. American Alliance of American Football.
I'm not much of a football guy, but I do.
Yeah. So I think it'd be interesting. I mean, I think it'll be interesting regardless. I just, at the end of the day, I don't love any of these, but as long as they're not the Canucks, I feel like I'm going to be happy.
I think my top 3 would be Falcons, but only Fraser Valley Falcons, and then Golden Eagles and Millionaires. I don't really have a preference there. I would say again, just don't do Fraser Valley Golden Eagles because that's a mouthful.
Yeah, I think it's been cool. We've been blessed with a lot of, minor league identities this year with, the Heartlanders. I always want to call them one or the other. The Heartlanders in Iowa, and then the Trois-Rivières Lions now. And so it'll be interesting to see another identity come to life. And then I know Palm Springs will be getting a team for
that's
Seattle.
Right. I was about to say, didn't we have another one? But yeah, that's it.
I don't even know when. I don't know that that's this season. I think it might be next season. But still, within the next calendar year or so, that should be at least a fourth, brand new, fresh minor league identity. And, for what it's worth, kudos to, obviously the ECHL is a bit more removed, so there's not as much direct copying. But kudos to Iowa and Trois-Rivières for, coming up with 2 distinct, unique identities, at least from a logo standpoint. We'll see how the jerseys shake out. But I would say all signs point to something unique, given how drastically different their logo packages are.
So, for those of you who don't know, we have a Google Doc that has our podcast notes on it. And we actually only started doing this recently. We'd usually send them in Slack, but I can just see Justin, and since it's a Google Doc, I can see him continually highlighting and unhighlighting.
I love it.
Section for Abbotsford.
I love it. I'm a very fidgety person. I'm always doing something.
I just see it go green. I don't know if it's showing green for you.
Yep, it is now. That's hilarious. I'm going to be so self-conscious.
Over and over again.
You'll see me on my video holding my hands like this for the rest of the episode.
Just grip the microphone and that's it.
The Abbotsford hands.
We also forgot to do one thing during the intro as well. Justin, what are you wearing?
Justin, I'm wearing clothes. Are you wearing clothes?
I am. Perfect. Let's move on now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm wearing... This is actually a really good transition. But I am wearing the Penguins' current alternate jersey.
That worked out really well. Here,
it's almost like we're saving
Let me go first. You said it, but let me go first. I am wearing... I mentioned it last episode, how Justin and I went halvesies on the Predators buy one, get one deal. It came in. My Predators Reverse Retro, Roman Yossi on the back of it. The material for the, silver is very interesting.
It's so weird.
I don't know if this is how it is on the Made in Canadas too. Probably not, because they probably found some cheaper way to do it for these. Because Adidas. I was going to say Fanatics. Adidas doesn't make these ones, thank God. Or Fanatics doesn't make these ones. Is that what I said? I don't know.
We have the tapes.
But yeah, it's very interesting, and it's a nice jersey. I still think it could use a couple of changes if it were to become home, but that's not what we're talking about. Justin, what are you wearing?
Yeah, well, before I get to that, I had a Reebok Edge jersey of their original Reebok Edge design with the same or similar silver sleeves, and I would say the materials seemed similar to what was on the Made in Canada edges. So who knows? But I'm wearing...
I kind of wonder if that would be the same with the pre-edge too.
Yeah, true. I'm wearing the Penguins... I'm going to say 18 to 2021 alternate, because I don't want to say current alternate anymore. Given
technically it still is.
It hasn't been replaced. But what they wore in the playoffs postseason, goodness, they've been out of the playoffs for too long. I'm already calling it the offseason. But I'm wearing what they will rumoredly no longer be wearing, according to, I guess, The Athletic. In terms of not confirming it is what they said specifically. But they had a mailbag. Was it with Rob Rossi?
Yeah, I can explain it.
Go for it.
The one who saw it and put it on there. So I was just, on The Athletic one day, and I saw an article that was titled, if it'll let me click on the link easily, Penguins mailbag, what are the futures of Evgeny Malkin, Mike Sullivan, and their gold alternate jerseys. So I saw that, and I was like, the alternate jerseys? I didn't know that they were, actually, up for change. And one of the question was, is there any truth to the rumor that the gold alternate jersey is no longer, and that the new alternate jersey will be the Pittsburgh Diagonal, the black Pittsburgh Diagonal, which I also didn't know was up for, being an alternate. And the answer was, I shall neither confirm nor deny said rumor, but if you're into reading things, perhaps this story from The Athletic's Sean Gentile is worth your time. I've seen the name so much, I've probably heard it, but I honestly don't know how to pronounce it.
Right.
And that story is titled the inside story of the Penguins Pittsburgh Pigeon logo. So I don't know if he's just if Rossi was just kind of like, hey, here you go if you want to read it, or if there's actually kind of a hint, nudge right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. I saw that, and that was interesting to me. I'll let you, spew your thoughts on this first of all.
Yeah.
And if you have any speculation on what a new alternate could be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen rumors that a lot of the reason that there's been a lot of super sale on current Adidas jerseys is that Adidas is apparently switching their material that they're making jerseys out of. And I heard rumors that the fan jerseys, the replicas, what we're both wearing, not the made in Canada on ice versions, are going from Climalite to Aero Ready, whatever changes that makes.
I feel like I've seen somebody with an Aero Ready.
There have been some Aero Ready jerseys that have started this year. I remember seeing some Leafs ones on Reddit.
Do you know what the difference between the two is? Do they feel different, or is it just material?
Not sure. I think it's a little bit material difference, a little bit cut, maybe. Okay. I know I've seen rumors that they might be using the Parley material, the recycled ocean plastics and trash material that they used in the All-Star game a couple years ago. Obviously, nothing has been officially confirmed or even unveiled or even officially spoken from Adidas itself.
If they are using the parlay, I'm pretty sure they've gotten to a point where they know how to color it now. So it's not just going to be like the league in black and white.
The two-color NHL. The two colors are black and white.
In case you were worried. God, how awful would that be?
That'd be brutal. I'd be watching the Kings play the Kings. With this,
the Kings I don't be really. Hey, this isn't even any different. What do you mean?
Yeah, right.
Did something happen?
With this, I don't really put too much water into it. Faith into it. It doesn't hold water. I combined those two things. Combined it. That's not a word. Combined. I'm doing great. I feel like it's well known amongst Penguins fans that Lemieux has a distaste for the RoboPen, and that's something that was mentioned in that linked story too. So part of me feels like that's kind of the message that was being delivered, is that they're not, if they bring it back, it won't be the same, would be my thought. And I saw that
either doesn't or didn't he also have a distaste for the bright Pittsburgh gold and liked Vegas
better? I don't know.
Which I could be wrong, but I thought that's why they kept Vegas for so long.
I don't know. But in terms of what the jersey might look like,
it does show that they eventually did go to Pittsburgh Gold. So I guess if the fans wanted it,
exactly.
I don't know what he would. I wouldn't mind it for a one-time throwback, but other than that, I have no need to bring the.
I wouldn't. Back, funnily enough, I wouldn't hate Vegas Gold for an alternate.
No,
I think it would have to be a black alternate with Vegas Gold. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, agreed. I don't think I don't think the RoboPen, the Pigeon Penguin, whatever you want to call it, needs to come back.
I wouldn't mind it for a one-time thing, but like,
yeah, I think it'd be a great stadium series.
Maybe bring back the Reebok Edge Cup jerseys for like a game or two in like 10, 15, 20 years, but like they just changed out of it like 5 years ago. You don't need to bring it back that bad.
I imagine maybe they'll do it in a couple of years when Crosby and Malkin and stuff retire, maybe.
Maybe. Okay, that's also fair.
I could see them doing it in warm-ups for like a jersey retirement night too.
I was about to say,
but in terms of wearing it a game,
that's also fair. That's also fair. Yeah.
But in terms of this alternate
game for like a cup anniversary, they'd probably just do a warm-ups with it.
Yeah, in terms of this alternate, I think my desire would be not a black alternate. I think we've both spoken to our, dislike for black jerseys in general, but also, with the Penguins and then also with alternate jerseys. I'm of the opinion if you have at least a third color to use, make your alternate a different color than your home just to provide some variety. So I would always hope the Penguins have a gold alternate. I'm not entirely in love, or even a navy. I wouldn't mind a double navy look.
They're not going to go back to navy after what happened.
I was going to say
2011 one though.
I wish they would have gone double blue for the reverse retro. I think it would have been a great one season thing, and then they could stick with gold for a future alternate. Honestly, I wouldn't mind. And this is another thought I had with the reverse retro. I wouldn't mind a gold diagonal Pittsburgh. But given the fact that they just brought it as a reverse retro, I doubt we'll see a black Pittsburgh diagonal. Like, I have almost like zero expectation or even thought that would ever happen at this point right away. Could we see a gold one? Maybe. I hope and I think it's going to be something brand new. Or, maybe it's something we've talked about a lot in the past, is maybe it's just a, companion jersey for their home and away set that is gold, like they used to have, and they'll wear it, with a gold helmet potentially
for that now with
Sundays.
Vegas.
Exactly. So that's what I think. I think Vegas and Pittsburgh, have similar identities with the shoulder fills and yada yada yada, and Vegas obviously the colors right. It's just like flirty.
I mean, hey, they stole somebody from everybody, so.
Yeah, right. They were some people. Sometimes they stole multiple people.
I was gonna say. I mean, I guess it's hard to say they stole whenever Florida was just like, "Here, take Riley Smith," and
right.
Take Marcus. So, like,
I was gonna say, if somebody hands you a piece of bread on the street, are you stealing or are you getting given something?
Yeah. That one aged just as well as Boston's 2015 draft picks.
Yeah. Right. Oof. But yeah, I mean, I think with Vegas and Pittsburgh, like, it's like everything's just like a different shade a little bit. It's like gray is black, Vegas gold is Pittsburgh gold. There's some red in there, so be it. I guess maybe it's more accurate they're stealing from Wilkes-Barre and not Pittsburgh, but I'm sure that's a harder argument to make.
I mean, I wouldn't argue that they actually stole from anybody.
Not at all. Not at all.
My argument would be that the Penguins popularized the upper arm fill whenever they brought it back in 2014. Because I think that the Penguins did that, and then the Coyotes did, the Golden Knights did. I know more have done it.
Seattle did, arguably, didn't they?
Did they?
Do they have I feel like they've... Maybe I'm misremembering what they
Penguins weren't the first to Velcro sleeve. That was Detroit. But I think the Penguins popularized the upper arm fill whenever they brought back the back in 2014.
I think it's been on a couple. I think it's been on a couple outdoor game jerseys. Maybe I'm just thinking of concepts, though.
That might be what I'm thinking of, the outdoor games.
Well, I guess the Kraken don't have upper arm. They have lower. They have forearm Velcro. They have Velcro forearms, which is a disgusting phrase that I never hope to utter again.
Velcro cuff.
Velcro cuffs. Velcuffs. Velcruffs. But yeah, I mean, in terms of expectations, predictions, I don't know. I really don't. My only thought would be, making that carbon copy of the home, or I think the away is better just because it has a little bit more striping. I would, color swap that to make a gold primary, but beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the away is my favorite just because I love the kind of white and then a lot of yellow, and it matches up well against a lot of other teams, I think, or it just looks, I think, the best in general. Personally, I would love the Penguins at a black alternate, and a yellow home jersey.
Fair, that works too.
But I mean, they're not going to change from that home jersey anytime soon unless they just do a yellow version of it.
Part of me wonders.
So give me, if anything, I want a yellow alternate. Maybe, powder blue, but probably yellow. I'll let you go and then I'll finish up.
Yeah, part of me wonders if they'd be bold enough to do a diagonal Pittsburgh jersey, but not the '90s version. To do a inaugural look, which obviously was the double blue with that
Pittsburgh gold and black.
I mean, I think they could do it in Pittsburgh gold and black. Is what I'm thinking right now.
That would be interesting.
And that's basically taking the stadium series, the Winter Classic jersey, the cursed one, and color swapping it and putting the old original logo treatment on it. I think it would look great.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally the Penguins' current alternate, while it's not a favorite design, I've grown to really like it. And while it probably could be better, I think in a lot of ways it's kind of the perfect alternate for me because, as we've mentioned, it's a third color from the scheme. It doesn't just share the same color. It has some synergy with the home and away jerseys, but it's not exactly the same. It very much fits in the branding, but it has its differences. It introduces some new things while sticking with the brand, and it uses third color. So in that kind of sense, I think it's the perfect third jersey that you can have. And as much as I hate to admit it, now that I think about it, the Hurricanes' third jersey kind of falls into there as well, if you really think about it. But
True.
I guess the design, doesn't.
The design is good. It's just the fact that it's black. It's I think the design is fine. It's just their identity is just so. Yeah, even the Hurricanes, I don't mind the design. It's just the color treatment is bad.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I'd like it better, I think, without the yoke, and probably better if people didn't love it.
Heck, if it was red with black stripes, I wouldn't hate it. I don't think.
Yeah. Although, I mean, for me, that would basically make the issue moot. Is that I don't like it because it's black. Because I don't like black jerseys a lot of times because they don't have a lot of color on them. But that's another topic.
Yeah, with the Penguins' current alternate, it's weird because I think I've vocalized on several occasions that it's not my favorite. I'm pretty meh on it overall. But as we're having this discussion, I can't really think of a way to make a better alt for the Penguins off the top of my head that isn't just a copy of the primaries.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they go for a new one, I wouldn't hate if they went with some sort of yellow Pittsburgh diagonal, whether it's a new design or not. I would prefer a new design at that point, or just something brand new. But again, I'd love it to stay in yellow. I would definitely be disappointed if they just brought back the black Pittsburgh diagonal. But with that rumor, I don't know if it's actually founded rumor or just fans, how they go. We want throwback, so it just turned into that. So it just somehow turned into a rumor.
It worked in Ottawa, though, so...
Yeah. If that does come back, I hope it's not a full-time alternate. But there have been more rumors that, or I guess these are probably the same kind of thing where fans just thought it, but, the Penguins were those alternates this year because they wanted to sell more because it was going away or because possibly if they introduce a new one, it's also yellow. So, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't mind, too, if they went the Vegas route of, home away and alternate with an exact color swapped yellow version that they just wear every once in a while. And honestly, they could do it home or away if the NHL would let them.
True.
I've mentioned before I want to see them wear the yellow helmets with the road jerseys sometimes too. Just either on a Sunday or something, or just once or twice a season, probably more that. But I just hope it stays yellow, honestly. Unless they go for powder blue.
I mentioned it earlier, and part of me wonders with the 2019 Stadium Series if color flipping that could work. And it would be a lot of yellow. It would be a lot.
Yellow
it would be bold. Black. Yeah.
Pretty sure the amateur they're not called the amateur Penguins anymore. The little Penguins or Penguins Elite here in Pittsburgh have worn that. Let's look that up now. Possibly I'll cut this out of the episode if we don't talk about much.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay, you looked it up?
Yeah, I just looked it up. I'll drop it in the...
Yeah, no, they do. It's not bad. It's little
not bad.
It's not bad.
It's definitely, I feel the logo is hard. Because it's unless, without ghosting the logo, you have to leave it primarily yellow. So then there's very little to break it up.
They've also worn a version of the 2019 one, the black one,
with a yellow helmet.
That works better than I would have expected.
I was going to say, I like that. It works really well. Part of me wonders if...
I guess maybe I wonder if it works because it's, youth hockey, but it still works.
I think it works.
Yeah, I think it does kind of work. I'm surprised.
Part of me wonders now if the yellow version would work better with a black helmet.
They wear a yellow, or they've worn the regular home jersey with a yellow helmet, and it kind of works.
Yeah.
It's not something I would do full time for the Penguins, but man, I wouldn't mind any of their jerseys getting a yellow helmet for a couple games here and there. Wow, I'm surprised. We'll have to link some of these down in the description.
Oh, for sure.
If you saw in our Google Doc, I just put the Adirondack mascot down the bottom if you need to link anything else while we're recording. That works better than I thought it would. Yeah, if you don't want to look at our description, just want to look it up, just search Penguins Elite, and you'll get a bunch of,
True.
pictures of it.
A whole bunch of different ones, yeah.
And I don't know if I explained it a ton. It's the, youth team from around here, the high-level youth team, and I don't know if they travel. I feel like they travel and play a lot of other, similar organizations. But, I know somebody who used to play for the Pens Elite who went to my high school and now plays for the Erie Otters, or at least did. I don't think they had a season this year, but yeah, high level. Still waiting on him to get drafted, unfortunately. I really want to see him make the show.
Be cool.
Even if he doesn't, it's hard to do. So
True.
He's made it further than 90% of us. So already,
I'm gonna take the opportunity to step away here for a second, and my laptop is plugged in but not charging, and I just got a low battery thing, so I'm going to try and tend to that, and we'll take a commercial break.
Let's pause this, and we'll be right back.
Bye-bye. Jersey nerds, get all your jerseys for nerds.
And welcome back, everybody.
Welcome, Jersey, to the Back Nerds podcast. Nope.
Maybe we should put a fake commercial in between or something.
Jersey nerds. Get all your jerseys for nerds.
Okay, wait. Say that again.
Jersey nerds. Get all your jerseys for nerds.
And we can plug our Redbubble right there. Perfect.
And plug your Redbubble right there.
Say we have to make a fake commercial for our Redbubble, and then you did it. Look at that.
Yeah, right?
If we were going to make an actual commercial for our Redbubble, I'd say we should do a little bit better than that, but... Hey, for now it'll work, considering it's Father's Day this weekend and everything. I don't feel like editing a whole commercial, so we'll go with that for now.
Yeah. So
anyway,
we're covering
podcast.
Yeah. So from the AHL to the NHL to the NWHL, we're spooning through our alphabet soup of an episode here.
A lot of N's and H and L's.
A lot of N's, and wow, look at that. National Hockey Leagues. What a surprise. But yeah, with the NWHL.
We've had an HL every time, that's for sure.
NHL. Okay, if anyone knows someone named Nate Chell, please point him in our direction. We would like to bring him on to the Nersey Jerds podcast. These Nersey Jerds are going to talk about the latest rebrand in the NWHL, and one that came seemingly out of nowhere, honestly. But the Metropolitan Riveters updated their primary logo, their secondary logo, their tertiary. There were so many different logo treatments that they came up with.
They didn't update their secondary, tertiary logo. They added those.
That's true. I guess they didn't have any.
Necessarily have those before.
I feel like they added a fifth and a sixth too. I saw a GIF or a GIF, which is a separate conversation, of course.
Yeah, they added a ton, and I love that. But we'll get to that.
Really centers around, I would say, cleaning up their look, both from a shape perspective of the actual logo itself, but also color palette. I was surprised to find out that their color palette previously had consisted of 10 different colors, including 4 different grays. They've now streamlined that to, I think it's 6 colors, if I recall correctly, which involves still 3 grays, which is a lot of grays. But, if you're going to bevel something, then at least that already warrants 2. So... But
I mean, they had so many grays before apparently, but like they didn't use them like prominently on the jerseys or
yeah,
anything.
going
I
back and
guess
looking
there's
at
kind of
their
a distinction there.
going back and now looking at their now former logo. I mean, that logo itself was just a mess of different colors. So I think
Trying to
definitely
figure out where they even used some of those grays because, like, I knew they had at least one, but I didn't know
yeah,
they
I
had
don't
that many.
know.
Unless it was on
Yeah,
beveling for the. Because I don't know if
yeah,
a lot of people know, but they actually did also change their logo last year. They updated the script at the bottom.
they really,
Because
huh?
beforehand it was a more. Let me pull them up now. Because I have, of course, vectors of all of them because I need to use them because I work for them,
True.
the league.
Surprise.
Yeah, last year they had, or the 2 years ago they had kind of a more rounded font with a more realistic kind of like steel girder effect in there. And then last year they cleaned that up and like the rosy part was basically the same, if not exactly the same. And they just cleaned up the text at the bottom. But yeah, that's probably where a lot of the grays came from because they had a lot of different bevel, like a lot of beveling effects on that. And what they had
Yeah,
last year is a lot more similar to what they have this year again. So,
yeah, that
like
makes
in terms of
sense.
just the type itself.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, I think I think it's a good change. Looking at the graphics here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, they had nine
I've
colors
got what?
previously.
Okay, I was gonna say they would
Nine
have.
colors
I thought you were
previously,
gonna
and
go low.
now they have six. Yeah,
Okay.
but in terms of the logos, I don't even know how to count. Well, I mean, I know how to count, but
What? Primary, secondary, tertiary, word mark? 5, I think, right? Because they have the primary logo, which is
yeah,
Rosie in the shield. They have a
yep,
secondary version, or I guess a tertiary version of that. That's the
which
same
drops
thing
the
without
word
the
mark.
riveters. Yeah, which drops the word mark. The secondary, which is the kind of star in the shield with wings. As
Yep,
and reading off the graphic, it is a nod to Rosie's historically patriotic past, the star, and acknowledges the impact women had on the aviation workforce during World War II. 65% of all workers were women. So, which I think is a nice
yeah,
detail. Um, then they have a per version that's just the word mark. And then they have a kind of hybrid of the primary and the
hmm
secondary, where it's the like circle outline with the wings, and then Rosie's coming out of it instead of a star in the middle.
yeah.
Which I
Honestly,
don't
if
know
you
how they're going to
ask,
use that, but it's interesting.
yeah, I feel like that's something that'll be used on merch more so than on the uniforms. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the
Ooh.
primary and secondary, read naturally as chest and shoulder logos. Um,
So
maybe a pants logo. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't. I don't know if the NWHL even goes that far.
I'm gonna
Uh,
throw this disclaimer in here now. That as I've said, I work for the league, so it's not like I can really say anything negative here. But honestly, I don't really
yeah,
have anything negative to say. And also, I don't know. According to their Twitter, they're getting new jerseys. They've mentioned something
yeah.
about that. And again, I don't know anything about this. But honestly, thinking about it, that tertiary would make a good front logo on a third jersey if they were to
Well,
go
I
the
was gonna
Toronto
say,
route
like looking
on
at
three
looking at
jerseys.
these, I'd prefer it. Like I've always been,
Yeah, I would love that.
a proponent of logos that stand on their own. Like I hate having words tell me who the team is. Like I much
Yeah.
prefer, the logo to speak for itself, and I think this one does. I mean, it's clear. Like everyone knows the Rosie the Riveter icon. I mean, and it's unmistakable. And I think you sell yourself a little short when you think, oh no, I need to put the name on there. I feel the same way about teams that are like, oh, I need to put a hockey stick in the logo or a hockey puck. It's like your logo you should be recognizable enough that people know, oh, that's the Rivers hockey team. Noted they don't do that. So I don't want to act like I'm
Yeah.
getting frustrated with them for putting a hockey stick in their logo because they don't in any of them, any of the million of them. So good on that. But worth noting that this logo package, this rebrand was put together by Justin Cox, who I know we're both big fans of.
Yeah, he's been around in the
Certainly,
concept community for God knows how long,
yeah,
and I'm pretty
yeah.
certain former HJC contributor. He'd submit concepts, I believe,
I
right?
believe so. I believe
So,
so. It's been a
um,
minute, but
I know I've said it before, but it's really cool to see everybody from this community, start to rise
yeah,
up. with
I mean, it's really interesting seeing everything.
Avi, McElroy. I'm so sorry your last name. If you're listening, I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm so bad with your last name.
No, it's McElroy because I always thought it was McElroy, and I was blown away. It's like Chris Kramer is Chris Creamer, and I was like, what?
Yeah. And Justin of now here, and even me. I'm working for that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see everybody, all the young designers from that era, kind of rising up now.
It's really
I'm
cool
sure
to see.
I think we've got kind of another generation coming up with some of the guys in our Discord, especially like Burkus and Gwinnett and all of them. Who, granted, I know Burkus, it wants to go into design. I'm not sure about everybody else in the Discord, but either way, certainly grinding and learning right now.
Yeah, there's obviously the work. Yeah, no, and
there might be another generation coming up after us at this point. Generation coming up after us is like 3 years younger than us, 4 years.
I can say I'm really excited to see a Justin, design a league that's going to be worn on a real team sweaters. I prefer it would be this Justin rather than that Justin, but hey, you take what you can get, and it's probably the closest I'm going to get. So it's a win for the Justins of the world. I think a really good job was done. Obviously, there's a lot of reference to the previous logo. It's a natural update rather than a rebrand, I would say. I think it's, more streamlined, I think would be the word I use. Obviously, the color palette is reduced. They made a point of mentioning that they wanted Rosie to be non-racial and inclusive for all players and fans. So that's where you see the kind of gray tones in the skin now, where it doesn't speak to a particular race one way or the other. So they're really pushing that, inclusivity aspect, which I think is really cool to see from a team's identity, from that deep into it. Because I think it's a lot of stuff, we see people put out press releases and Twitter posts and whatever to say, oh, we stand by this, or we don't stand with certain things. Then, at the end of the day, it's words and
while
not
you're
a ton
on
of
that
action. Yeah, go ahead.
While you're on that too, I want to bring up that their Twitter has confirmed that there's going to be a black Rosie as well. And the one negative thing I might have to say is that the steel Rosie, I think it looks a little weird at first, just because it's not something you're used to. But I've gotten used to it so quickly, and even then, even if it looked a little weird, I think it's more than worth it for the inclusivity factor. And with the league that the NWHL is, that they kind of just I don't know how to describe that, but unfortunately, the politics of all of this, and while inclusivity and human rights should not be political, it unfortunately is. And with the way that with where this league is, unfortunately, that does get kind of wrapped up into it more than it should, more than you'd want it to. But I think the league a lot of times uses the platform that it has to do a lot of good for this kind of stuff, and I think this is another great example of that. I really like the, inclusivity and neutrality of the new logo.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's, graphically a better identity. I think it's, identity-wise a better identity when you take into account that aspect as well. I think it's really good. I think it looks. I think Will Butala said in our Discord when we were talking about it that it looks professional now. Before it's something I thought of as like before it looks like an illustration more than a logo to me, and now it's unmistakably a logo, and it's that's done by streamlining it a bit, thinning out the features, putting it in a centering shape with the
line
with the shield behind it. Yeah,
cleaner.
So and I think taking out some of the details, like instead of having the stars on the bow, just making it a red, I think, it just makes more sense. It's less is more in that aspect. Even something that keeps throwing me off is they took out the hand rolling up the sleeve to show the muscle. Now it's just the muscle there itself. And that keeps throwing me for a loop, but I'm sure I'll get used to it.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of agree there, but I've gotten so used to it. I think it looks better that way. I think it just takes out another element that you didn't really need.
Yeah, that's my thing. It looks better, but I'm also like, it looks weird, but it looks better, but it looks weird.
Having that is probably more, authentic to the original Rosie, but I don't know if you necessarily needed that to get the message across.
That's my thing. This is a logo. It needs to be its own thing.
Yeah, you've kind of, just taken away another one of those elements. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I said I can't really say a lot negative here, but again, I don't have a lot negative to say. I agree with a lot of what Justin says. I think it's all a huge improvement. And I think the shield shape gives it like the Rosie before. It didn't really have a container or anything to kind of stop
Mm-hmm.
it aside from that text, and now it does. And I think the shield is you know pretty necessary for this, and executed really well, really pretty much perfectly, I
Yeah,
think.
and I think
Um,
obviously we haven't seen the jerseys, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to integrate that. Not that you can't
yeah,
have logo only colors like the Blackhawks do, but you know I think this is
it's
a
not
lot
easy
easier
to
to
pull
make it
off.
feel at
Yeah,
home.
it's
Yeah,
not easy to pull off.
and I honestly, on that note, I'm interested to see what they choose to do with the jersey colors because obviously there's a lot to pull from here. There's, three different grays. There's two different blues even.
Yeah,
So I would expect a navy jersey, but there's no reason you can't use that lighter blue in the striping. And honestly, I think it would be cool too. Um, but
and
we'll see if it just. Go ahead.
I disclaim again that I don't know anything about this, but if you just go off of
Mhm.
what they had last year, navy primary white, or navy home white road. I don't know if they technically were considered home or road now that I think about it, because
I guess they
they
never.
were
No
all
one
in.
ever played a home or road game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boston technically, because of
that's
the
fair.
final games in Warrior Arena in Boston. But
Hmm.
either way, navy dark white row or white light jersey. So, and they have the same color, so they certainly have precedent to continue on that. But who know? I don't know if they will at all. And it's entirely possible that they take the lighter blue and integrate it more than they had before. I don't know on that one. If I had a wish for the jerseys, I'd probably say do the version without riveters as the jersey logo. But I
Same.
think if any team is going to be able to pull off the text in the logo, I think this one would pull it off pretty well.
Well, I feel like
I
they
think
have the
it's
most unique name.
I think it integrates
Like
really well though with the logo
it
itself.
does. It
A lot
does.
better than most other teams do. I think part of that, now that I think about it, might be how Rosie is quite literally like, putting her arm over it. Um,
Yeah. No,
how
it
it's
is
like
done
kind of
really well.
it's that, I guess three-dimensional in a sense, but
Yeah.
it's
No,
not
that's a
like
good point.
Cape Breton Eagles I was thinking of yesterday, for
Oh my
example.
gosh, I
Their
forgot
logo,
about
how
that.
that one's
I
not
remember when we
integrated very
talked about
well.
that on the pod.
Um,
Yeah. Oof.
but if any team can pull off the word mark on the jersey logo, that came out wrong, but you know what I mean. Pull off
Yeah.
that version on the jersey. I think this is one of the better opportunities for it. One of the better teams or one of
Yeah.
the better cases of it. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm fumbling my
Yeah.
words. You all know what I'm trying to say here.
And honestly, I would have thought a name like Riveters would be too long and too weird to try and integrate well, but I think it's done really well, and I think that
Yeah,
is indicative of this whole brand. I think definitely snaps to Justin for his work on this. If he's listening, fat chance, but if he is, we'd love to get you on the pod. I'm sure we'll be reaching out off the pod as well. We'll be putting a little bit more legs into that idea, but with any luck, we'll talk to Justin in the future and get a little bit more information on it. Obviously, it's a good look. It's one we're excited about, and it's one that'll be interesting to see what comes with jerseys going into the next season. I know, obviously, we were treated to new jerseys across the league last season, so it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see. Obviously, the Rivers will get new ones to go with this. It'll be interesting to see how much of a shakeup there is there with those jerseys, or whether it'll be just pasting this on the old jerseys and color matching, or if there's a new design. And I think it'll be interesting to see if what happens for the rest of the league as well.
And I
Um,
will say I'm excited to start working with this logo.
yeah,
For sure.
true. No.
You know, I've been working with the league for about a year now, and I've honestly been a fan of the league for about the same amount of time. I wasn't
Fair.
really huge into women's hockey before, and I wasn't any one of the guys who was like, "Ah, women's hockey bad, worse than men's because women." No, absolutely not. But I just never really got into it until then, and I really like the visual direction the league has taken since then. Like, I'm not saying my part, I'm just saying everything else, the jerseys and stuff, like last year's unveiling, some of them I wasn't huge on, and then I get to Lake Placid, see them on the ice, and a lot of them look a lot better than I would have expected. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of teams like Minnesota and Boston that do things that you wouldn't normally expect with, the illustration on the hem and Boston's gradient that work out really well. Um, so I think the league is moving in a great visual direction, and hopefully at some point I can be a part of that and design either a branding or a jersey, but that's to be determined. So
I think, not to get poetic with it, but I think this logo and this rebrand is, kind of indicative of the league at the moment. It seems like it's kind of stepping into its own a little bit. It's, cleaning up, becoming, more professional, at least, to the exterior of, I feel like it's something you never heard about at all. And it's been really cool to see, now it coming onto national television, and having the games easily accessible, I think, is huge. And there's talk about it now. Like, I think, back when, especially when the CWHL existed, I remember going to, I don't even remember what game I went to, but I saw CWHL jerseys and I was so confused as to what that even was, where that even came from. Whereas now, like,
and I believe a lot of
I feel like
NHL copies, didn't they?
Oh, I'm pretty much exclusively.
Markham had Dallas copies, I believe.
Yeah, and then like I don't even remember I think they were Montreal, and they had Montreal and the original Boston. I think it was the Pride actually still back then. Had Bruins copies.
It was the Pride, but I believe they were in the NWHL still now.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, I think it's whereas now it's more. Now that
I think about it, I don't think any NWHL team has had a name change except for New York Riveters moving to Metropolitan Riveters.
That's fair.
I don't think anybody's changed.
I forgot about that too.
Identifier name, the moniker. Only the identifier.
Yeah, their team name versus their location. Yeah. And so I think it's cool, and I think it's to the point where not every hockey fan watches the NWHL, unfortunately. But I think most know the name, and know what it is. At least those active, in the social space, and in Twitter and stuff. Obviously, that's a lot easier to make a name for yourself now, both as an individual and an organization, in terms of where social media is at. But yeah, lots to come out of. I was going to say out of New York, but out of Metropolitan, which makes zero sense. But as we progress in our alphabet soup,
I think it's kind of the same, New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC or whatever. I think it's that same kind of
100%.
So
yeah, that's true.
Which one's better? I'm not going to say. I don't really know if I have a preference for which one of those either way, but that's how the Riveters went about it. Just
yeah. Speaking of New York, we're going to talk about the Islanders a little bit. We're going to talk about, and some other teams. This is not just about the Islanders, especially as Penguins fans. I want to talk about the Islanders as little as possible. But we're going to talk about the upcoming Stanley Cup Final. Obviously, we're about halfway through the second to last round, the Stanley Cup semifinal.
Again.
Yes. We're halfway through the Stanley Cup semifinal, which is the weirdest thing to say. But that's what this hockey season does to you. There are no conferences. There are no conference finals. But obviously, Montreal and Vegas are going back and forth in what I would call the West, but obviously there is no West either.
And to everybody's surprise, Montreal is up 2-1 right now, which...
Isn't it 2-2?
No, 2-1.
Is it 2-1? Well, I don't know. I was thinking there's 4 games, but depending what time you're listening to this, maybe they've already won the series. Maybe they've already lost.
I was gonna say by now, or by the time you listen to this, it's going to have changed. But last night was Game 3 for us recording. It is currently Saturday. I think it's pretty well known by now that we don't release day of or anything like that.
Surprise!
We still got one from late May that hasn't come out yet, so that's going to be interesting.
Stay tuned.
But for me yesterday. I was, tired late at night, and I was watching the Steve Dangle or watch a Habs game with Steve Dangle thing, and I wake up, and third period's over, and he's just talking and about like some sort of mistake, and I was like, oh boy, what happened? What did Vegas do? And I look it up, and Fleury made that, and I was like, oh no, oh god. And at that point, it was hard to fall asleep, during overtime, so I just watched the overtime. Montreal dominated the overtime. Vegas, anytime Vegas got a chance in that overtime, Montreal was right on it. and ultimately Montreal ended up winning in overtime. And I feel so bad for Fleury.
Good for Montreal. I mean, I feel like
I'm not gonna lie, he kind of blew that game for Vegas. It was two.
Yeah,
I saw
it happens.
2 minutes left in the game too, and I was like, oh no. Oh, we know what happens.
The really funny is
we know what happens,
right?
But
the really funny thing is, like, if you listen to the American broadcast, the puck's in the other end behind Price's net, and Price goes out to play it, and Pierre Maguire goes, "Oh, Fleury's puck handling skills have really made a difference for Vegas this game." And literally, like, by the time he's finished that,
I saw people
finish that statement, the puck's crossing the blue line the other way, and Fleury goes out. And it's just like, oh.
I saw people talking about that. But again,
yeah, it'll be.
Well, I was asleep, but I was also watching a little Habs game with Steve Dangle, so I had the Canadian broadcast on there.
So yeah, that's been a good series. On the other side of the bracket is Tampa Bay, New York, which is weird to feel like a New York team is going up against the evil empire, but that's how it feels like, that Tampa Bay has kind of become the evil empire of the league, both from being, defending champs to the, I don't want to say, controversy, but their adaptation of the cap rules, I'll say. Their application, maybe.
I said it last week, that it's legal. So
yep.
If your team did it, you wouldn't be upset. And
yep.
If you're going to be upset, don't be upset with Tampa. Be upset with the rule. Don't hate the play. Hate the game.
Exactly.
But
you can't hate the players on Tampa.
Yeah, there's so many
other reasons.
The caps circumvent anyways. So
exactly. It's just the new long-term IR.
I was also going to say this is what happened last year as well. Tampa and the Islanders in the quote-unquote Eastern Conference Final.
Yep. So no new excitement in terms of jersey matchups.
I don't remember who it was, but it was mentioned on the Steve Dangle podcast. Both this year's and last year's quote-unquote conference finals were Tampa, the Islanders, Vegas, and Corey Perry.
Nice. the Montreal Corey Perrys. That's why there's a big C on the front.
That's it.
Yeah, but with 4 teams,
they knew who Corey Perry was going to be in 1917 or 1995 or whatever year they were actually founded, because they were founded before the NHL.
They just knew, man. It's important. With 4 teams, that leaves us 4 potential finals matchups. So let's talk about it from a hockey standpoint first. We could have Montreal, New York, Islanders, of course. The Rangers have been out since before the playoffs. So Canadiens, Islanders, Canadiens, Lightning. I was going to say Vegas Islanders, but that sounds like a different team. Knights Islanders or Knights Lightning. In terms of, those matchups, what would you like to see from a pure hockey perspective? Pretend they're wearing those black and white parlay jerseys and there is no visual intrigue, but just from pure hockey, because obviously we're jersey nerds, but I feel like we're a little bit of hockey nerds as well.
I think from a pure hockey standpoint, Vegas and Tampa, it's almost unarguably the best. It's the 2 best teams, I'd say, for sure. But man, if Montreal plays consistently like they did in that overtime, that would be fun to watch, because, again, they killed that overtime last night. And that was really fun to watch, I think. It was just, at that point, kind of a matter of when are they going to score, because it seemed like it was going to happen unless Vegas just kind of pulled the hockey. And Vegas also killed Montreal in shots last night, too. So if they kind of pull that card of, like, we're getting dominated, but we get one chance and it happens to go in the hole. The classic hockey. But yeah, I think if I had to pick hockey, I'd go Vegas and Tampa, and that's probably about what I'd predict anyways. Because even though Montreal's up right now, I certainly still wouldn't be surprised on, if Vegas ends up taking it, because I think they are ultimately the better team. I love, too, how so many Montreal fans, I think this was brought up on the Steve Dangle podcast, so many Montreal fans are like, why are you guys doubting us? You doubted you in the first round, didn't you?
Yeah,
if anybody thought you were going to beat the Leafs in the first round, come on now. And also, you finished 18th this year and 24th last year. Like, kudos to them for getting there, but come on.
No, it's all about getting hot at the right time. Like in the Kings Cup run, I think they were the eighth seed, and you pull it out sometimes. That's why you play.
I think Steve even mentioned it during that broadcast yesterday, but like how do you ask somebody who was into statistics? How do you account for Cole Caulfield, just college player coming in and
Right.
killing
Plug
it?
in.
Like
Yeah.
that's also been a big help for them in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, Montreal's here. You can't discount them actually that much. And at this point,
It's hard to get here. Yeah.
I'm surprised they're up on Vegas. But at this point, man, I'm kind of like I wouldn't be that surprised if they make it. I'm still predicting
Yeah.
Vegas, but um,
I'm with you. I
but
mean, I feel like
like, of course, you could discount them before because again, they finished 18th and 24th respectively the last couple of years. But I think they're very much on the upswing.
yeah, I feel like the Islanders is kind of a foregone conclusion that would be an even more surprising upset somehow.
Would it be? I
But
don't know anymore.
I think Tampa Bay is just such a juggernaut. I mean, again, it's all about getting hot at the right time. They've been. I mean, I'll always put my faith in Barry Trotz. I hate the Penguins division just because of Barry Trotz and having to see him both in Washington and New York. And it seems like whoever he's coaching is whoever I hate to face. That was he was there for a big part of the recent Washington Pittsburgh rivalry, and I feel like they haven't really played since he's left. Actually,
They have,
yeah, because the Penguins haven't made it out of the first round, so it was all of that rivalry.
They made it out of the first round in 18. And oh wait, never mind. That was that was before he left.
Yeah, that was the year.
The Penguins had a hand up on him for 17 or 16 and 17, and then ever since then, 18, 19, and 21. Nope.
I was gonna say he's been three out of the 4 series the Penguins have lost.
And the other one was against 4 years. You guessed it, Montreal.
Yep. So that's how I feel like. I feel like it's the Vegas Golden Knights versus Carey Price. Who coincidentally has the same initials as Corey Perry, so maybe they need to change the H in their logo to a P.
If we get Montreal Islanders Cup Final, it's who eliminated the Penguins the last 2 years Cup Final.
Yeah, true. Gross. So all that has to happen is the Penguins just have to eliminate themselves next year by not making the playoffs, and then they'll make the Cup Final the following year.
They eliminate themselves, and then they make the Cup Final the same year.
I feel like I've learned as a Penguins fan never to bet against Carey Price and never to bet against Barry Trotz. So anything could happen.
I'm starting to learn that, and I'm really starting to doubt my picks sometimes. It's like,
right.
If Islanders and Montreal make it to the Cup Final, it's like I can't doubt any of them anymore. They're both just going to win. They're going to go into like 75 overtimes in Game 7 and eventually just call a truce, and you're going to have who's the Islanders captain right now? Not Barzal.
Anders Lee.
You're going to have Anders Lee come out onto the ice. I don't remember what his injury was, but he's going to come out onto the ice because that's what they do. And Shea Weber and one hand each lift the cup after 75 overtimes, and they're both going to win.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I mean, I think we're in for some good hockey either way. I think there's obviously, Vegas Tampa would be the odds-on favorite, I would say at this point. But there is potential on both sides for an upset. Taking it back to our typical discussions, looking at jersey matchups, that's a different conversation. There's a lot of different jerseys here, and honestly, in looking at the images, I don't know that there's a bad matchup, in what's left for the Cup Final between any of these 4. I think all 4 jersey sets work well against one another. So I think we're in for a beautiful Cup Final, regardless of who moves on. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on overall, and then as well on who could be the best matchup of these two teams, or of 2 of these teams, and who could be the worst.
I would go 4-3-2-1 for anticipation, but I think
my
thought process is more so elimination, like taking the best and then going down. So I'm gonna go that route.
Do it. We'll do it, and we'll both do our number 1. We'll both do our number 2.
That's fair.
So on and so forth.
I think my number 1 is Montreal, the Islanders. What would probably be the worst matchup pure hockey wise would be the best jersey wise, because you have the blue common link in between with red on one side and orange on the other side that kind of create a dissonance. And not to mention you have, the 1980s-ish look of the Islanders, which, I mean, they're more or less throwing back to that, even though the home jersey isn't exactly. And the 1980s and we also never changed it ever. Look of the Montreal Canadiens.
Definitely feels classic hockey.
It creates a very classic looking. As much as I'm anti-throwback for throwback's sake, I think the kind of similar aesthetics there look really, really good together. So that's my number one for sure.
This is really interesting. I feel like I honestly get frustrated that I feel like most of us have similar opinions all the time. But my ideal, I think, doesn't include either of those teams, funnily enough. I really like how Vegas and Tampa would look against each other, looking at photos of games they've played in the past, which is what we're doing for all of these teams, to be transparent. And I think I really like when teams share basically no colors. I also think it's really cool with Vegas having I'm going to say no white in their primary uniform. Obviously, the numbers are white, but in terms of striping, it's in their home. And so I think it's really cool to see their home with so little white against Tampa, which has a very simple jersey, which we've obviously discussed at length. But I think it's really cool to see that with heavy white versus almost no white. In that matchup, and then I think on the road, similar is you've got a lot of white, obviously because of a away sweater, and then so little white because of the simplicity of Tampa's jerseys. I'm a big fan of teams that share no colors, and so having obviously white is there, but having just blue on Tampa and then the gray, black, gold, red on Vegas that isn't echoed at all. I think that contrast is really, really nice.
For my second, I'm honestly so torn between Vegas and Tampa, which I think I'm going to put as my third, but not because it looks bad, and I'll get to that. But I think I've got to go for my second, Montreal and Tampa, because more or less it's Montreal-Toronto, which is a great matchup in itself. And you've got, the, again, common link of blue, which I don't think it's necessary, like Justin said, but I think it helps sometimes. And then, Montreal's got the red. It's just two kind of classic looking jerseys up against each other. And while, of course, Montreal, Toronto, this isn't, you can't really replicate that as much as Tampa has tried at times. The more that I think about it, the more it's like they need to do something a little different than Toronto. Like, I don't know if they copied them, but man, I get it the more and more I think about it. But it's just, it's hard to, I think, argue against that for me. You've got Montreal's classic set up against, a very simplistic.
It looks like a classic hockey matchup, even though it isn't.
It looks like they were trying to make one. I mean, I guess they kind of did, but I don't know. I feel like we're not talking about what Tampa should be doing right now. We're talking about.
I was going to say Toronto's look is. I'm Toronto. I said Toronto. I meant to say Tampa. And I said Toronto. Oh boy, that's indicative. But I mean, goodness, I did it again. Tampa's look is clean. It is classic. It's just boring for a young team, which is why we hate it. Like it's objectively not that bad of a jersey.
I think it looks good, but I don't know. The more I think about it, the more
they just could do more.
Do something different. But I mean, just looking at what they do have and what they could have instead of what they could have, it's two very traditional looking jerseys up against each other, and just I think really.
And I will say before someone mentions it, I do realize Tampa has black in their jerseys, so technically they share that with Vegas.
I know,
but I refuse to give credence to that.
Come on. Don't kid yourself here.
For me, I won't talk too much on my number two because it's the same as yours. I hate it because the hockey part of me doesn't want to see Tampa in the final at all. But the aesthetic part of me definitely does.
There's a part of me that's like, I want to see the Penguins, back-to-backs in the salary cap era stay intact. And there's another part of me that's like, I want to see it done again because you know what I mean?
It is super cool.
I don't know which one I want to see more. So
I mean, I think
whatever happens for me.
I think in terms of this matchup, you put it right. It's Toronto versus Montreal Part 2. And we all said in our initial playoffs episode that
it's Montreal versus Diet Toronto.
Honestly. And so we all said that's probably going to be the best matchup of the playoffs, and I think that's fairly accurate. Maybe Vegas Tampa would be better in my mind than even Montreal Toronto, but I don't know if I even believe that. But yeah, that's my number 2 as well. I'll push through and jump ahead and do my number 3. Um, and this is where I really go back and forth. But I think my number 3 is going to be Montreal Islanders. I don't really love the orange against the red. I think it looks like one of them got washed weird, and they were supposed to both be blue and red or something, and it just came out wrong. Um, but it's again that classic hockey vibe. I think is really cool. Um, I honestly this is third by process of elimination, just because I don't think the Golden Knights and Islanders match up particularly well. But I'll get into that after we do your third.
Yeah, my third is your first, and it's Vegas Tampa. And again, I say that it's not a bad matchup in the slightest, even though it's 3 out of 4. I think it's a really nice, it's kind of like what you said, where there isn't a common link between them, really. Again, we're not counting that black. And to me, it's also kind of a modern jersey versus a traditional, or a modern versus a kind of modern traditional hybrid. I think that's what I'd say Tampa is, because I feel like if they had plain colored numbers, they'd be a bit more traditional, but I think kind of the number outlines and the bolts on the pants kind of take away from that a little bit and bring it more modern. So I think it creates a kind of what's the word? Unharmonious harmony.
Dissonance.
I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, fair.
Where you wouldn't think they'd match up well, modern and traditional or anything like that, but they kind of do. They kind of it's like opposites attract in a way. They play off of each other.
I feel like this is one that I expected to be. I feel like this is one I expected to be horrible. Like if you would have told me Tampa versus, if I didn't pull up reference pictures, I probably would have had this as my number 4. But after having pictures, it's my number 1. I think it's surprising.
Yeah. So I think that kind of unharmonious harmony makes it, and I'm gonna pull a you, and I'm just gonna skip it to my number 4, which I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, is both of ours is Vegas and the Islanders. And for me, I think this is way too much going on. I mean, you do have the modern and the traditional, but you also have gray, black, gold, red, blue, orange. That's a lot of colors going on for one. And neither of the designs are necessarily simple. The Islanders are, but there's still kind of a lot of area taken up by the striping that they have. And same with Vegas. There's a few different stripes in there and a lot of area taken up. It just feels like there's not a lot of breathing room here. For me,
yeah, it feels hectic. I'm stressed looking at it.
It's not even that bad. You could have done way worse. But
I was gonna say in a playoffs that gave us the potential to have both the Hurricanes and Oilers alternate in the Stanley Cup Final.
Oh no! Never.
We're making out pretty well with these 4 options.
I couldn't imagine that. Oh my god.
Think about how bad how bad would have the all black Hurricanes alternate looked against the Navy heavy Oilers away too. The Oilers away, which is a beautiful jersey, would just be reduced to garbage against that.
Have they ever played each other in that matchup? Obviously not
this
year.
I doubt it.
I kind of wonder if they because Edmonton's only played at Carolina once a year before.
And I think Edmonton's only had that alternate jersey for 2 years, so they would have only had one opportunity.
I mean Edmonton's. Really
Carolina's. That's Carolina's right. Yeah.
Alternate.
I don't know.
So they've had 18, 19, and 20 for that.
Yeah.
And possibly not even 20, considering. I don't know if their game together happened to have been one of the postponed ones or one of the canceled ones.
Oh, they have done it. Oh no.
Boy. What are the odds of that?
Looks like... Where'd the picture go? I saw a picture a second ago. Let me find it.
If anybody's good at math, you're welcome to find out what the actual odds of that are, because I'm curious. Because obviously it's not just a 1 in 3 Carolina picking that. It's also this game happens to line up with the predetermined or whatever.
Yeah. It looks like it was
say you're welcome to send over a photo so I can take a look.
Yeah.
Because I'm
trying
curious.
I'm trying to figure out when it was. I found it in an article that I think is a preview for a different game, but it was during the Oilers' 40th anniversary season.
Okay.
Oh gosh, and yeah.
Okay.
It's weird too because the outlines of the yolks look similar but different because it's the bright red and the bright orange. Oh.
Ooh.
It's better than I thought, I'll admit.
Same, but it's not good either.
Oh, it's far from good.
It's hard to say anything with Carolina's alternate and it is good.
Yeah. Dare I say the inverse, Oilers alternate versus Carolina's away might actually be worse.
I don't know, because you at least have a lot of color in there with Carolina's road.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, either way, I'm glad that's not the matchup that we're seeing. Which is also super unfortunate because Carolina's home versus Edmonton's away would be glorious.
Oh, it would be. And that's probably definitely happened.
Yeah,
and Edmonton's home, I think versus Carolina's road, that one might be just because
it would be okay.
Orange
and
red, but I mean, it would have been better than.
Oh, that's true. That's a lot of orange versus a lot of
But yeah,
those two teams should just not play. That's the takeaway. But yeah, getting back to the discussion of topic here, I mean, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, but the fact that these two teams share no colors, Vegas and New York, doesn't work for me. I think with Tampa's simple enough that it works, but with the addition of orange, it's very busy. I don't care for the Islanders jerseys in general. I mean, they're fine. I don't think they're memorable in any way, shape, or form. It's funny looking at them now because
they won cups in it.
True. It's funny looking at it now because if you just take the away sweater and make the orange white, you effectively have a Tampa Bay sweater. The home, you'll have to switch some colors around. But it's funny to me how just that orange cuff changes things so drastically for me because I love it with Vegas' home against Tampa's away. But Vegas' home against the Islanders away, I can't stand. Relatively.
So,
it's still
what
good.
You're saying is Tampa copied the Red Wings, Maple Leafs, and Islanders.
Yeah, it did a little subtract shape addition there. And I think for me, a lot of it comes honestly in the
Islanders
color.
Used what I would say would be their ideal home jersey, which is the reverse retro and royal.
Yeah, then it would be.
Put them around, then yeah, it would be.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that too. And I think for me, the issue is, I think it's the gold stripe and the orange stripe, especially on the matchup of the home and away. Mm-hmm. You know, the Vegas Gold and the orange are similar colors.
They're both home and away matchup, technically.
Yeah, sorry, Vegas is away against the Islanders home.
Okay, that's what I thought
they're both similar colors, and they're pretty much in the same spot of the jersey too. So, when players are up against each other, I think it creates a dissonance that is not harmonious in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But again, far from the worst jersey matchup, I should say, that this playoffs could have offered. So I think we're sitting very pretty in terms of Stanley Cup Final matchups. I'm trying to think of what
the worst would have been, and I think it's what you said was Edmonton, Carolina in the final.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I think so because
they met in the third round too, just depending on how the seeding of everybody else worked out.
Because I feel like in Edmonton the first time it was anytime they were at home it was ugh, but then they were on the road and it was okay, this is decent. Whereas that, regardless of who's at home, there's a really heinously bad jersey on the ice.
I feel like in Edmonton's first round, whenever Edmonton was at home, you have Edmonton's not good alternate versus Winnipeg's very meh road, and then you've got Winnipeg's home jersey that I don't like, but is better
decent
for a technical reason. I mean, I have no problem with other people. I mean, I guess I don't like people liking Carolina's alternate, but I see why people would like Winnipeg's home jersey, even though it's not my thing, and Edmonton's good road jersey. So
yeah,
really weird disconnect there.
Thanks to the hockey gods for allowing us some leeway here and giving us at least an ocular feast at the end of the playoffs here.
And it's also worthy to say that I think the Islanders jerseys and Vegas jerseys stand out well on their own. They're both good in the
for sure.
You can't, whenever you're designing a jersey, you can't design it, especially in a league like the NHL, with every single matchup possible in mind. So things like this are bound to happen even if every jersey in the league is good. So
And for those keeping record at home, out of the 3 teams that wore their alternate in the playoffs, 2 of them got out in the first round, one of whom never won a game, and then the other one got out in the second round. So take that for what you will. I think you should take it as don't wear your alternates in the playoffs. But unfortunately, I don't manage an NHL team's uniform.
2016 and it worked. So
True.
True.
But I like that alternate, so that's fine.
Here's what the rule should be. If you're gonna wear your alternate in the playoffs, make sure you have goaltending.
Fair.
And when I say that, I'm referring specifically to Pittsburgh. Because
here's the rule: if you make the playoffs, make sure you have goaltending.
I feel like if Tristan Jarry had played better, they very well could have been here.
I think the advanced stats show if he played like average, they would have won.
Well, yeah. I mean, at that point, who knows how they would have played against Boston, but I think it's very well possible they could be right here in the conference final at this point, considering the Islanders got past them. If the Penguins
Welcome to the Salty Pens fan podcast.
Yeah,
it's tough. I try not to be like, oh, they could have done it. That's all they needed. And then it's like, but like, also, they could have.
Because like 2019, they had other problems. 2020, they had other problems. They had a really good roster this year. I've said it before. Yeah. They had a really good roster this year, and I think I mentioned it last week, but you weren't on here last week. I saw some sort of, I don't remember who tweeted it. It was a list of Penguins goaltending performances in the playoffs from like 20 in like the early 2000s on. The number one was Fleury in 2008 when they lost.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the last place was, but Tristan Jarry this year was only one place, I think, below Fleury in 2009 when they won, which was really weird to me.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
And like, I guess you think of that, and it's like, I guess the Penguins just played so good in 2009 that they could make up for that.
I think the worst was like,
I don't know,
Fleury in 11-12 or 12-13. There was one year where he was just god awful, and everyone was like, trade Fleury, he's crap.
I think it might have been 2012 Fleury, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I guess maybe against a different opponent, the Penguins could have won a series even with this goaltending if they were just scoring enough, but they just happened to get match up against the defensive Islanders, so go figure.
Yeah.
I probably would have rather played Boston in the first round if I knew ahead of time that, we weren't going to have many goaltending.
Yeah.
But,
so,
although Boston,
that's,
a lot of who knows.
That's our Stanley Cup discussion right there. Thanks for listening. Bpoe, do we want to check the mail, or do we want to wait for the postman next time?
I don't know. I mean, it's a long one, but I'm kind of down, but I'm kind of not. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm down. We can make sure we keep the mailbag quick. I mean,
I'm trying to think of which question we could do quick. Because I'm honestly... okay, we'll do one.
Or we could do no mailbag. Keep them on their toes.
Ooh. Yeah, I think we should wait on this one. We're already an hour and a half in.
No problem. No mailbag, folks. We will answer all of your questions next time.
And we've got quite a few of them, and a lot of them from
the same people.
So if anybody else wants to submit any, feel free.
Send some questions. We'll answer them. We'll talk less about the Penguins.
Bag.
It's the mailbag. Regardless, mailbag questions or not, well, actually not. Thank you for listening to the Jersey Nerds podcast. Be sure to check us out on socials. Check us out on Redbubble. Send us mail. Questions, don't send us mail. We don't have a mailing address. But submit things for us to talk about. We're always looking for new content. So with that, thanks again for...
It's 877.
Yeah. I'll give you my credit card number. You can pay for shipping. It'll be great. I sent Bpoe mail, as we've already discussed. So if you want to slide into my DMs and get the exclusive address of one Brendan Poe, we can work that out for a certain fee. But regardless,
here's my address if you would actually like to send it to me. It's 42 Wallaby Way.
Oh, P. Sherman.
Yeah.
BP.
That's my dad.
Bpoe Sherman. That's my dad. Thanks again for just listening to a podcast. Once again, this is Justin and Bpoe, your resident crotchety old Penguins fans and Jersey opinionists. Have a wonderful week. We will see you next time, yet again, on the Jersey Nerds podcast. Thank you for listening. Jersey Nerds podcast is brought to you by Jersey Nerds Media, a conglomeration of nerds, jerseys, and media. Bow.
The Jersey Nerds podcast is a production of Jersey Nerds Media. The Jersey Nerds are Bpoe, Hunter, Justin, Chris, and sometimes Steve. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @the_Jersey Nerds, and hit that link in our bio to find our blog, our Discord channel, our online store, and more. And be sure to rate, comment, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. We really appreciate it. From the Jersey Nerds to you, thanks for just listening to a podcast. How about you?